Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and get started in about a minute or so. Just going to let everyone join us as they're joining us through Zoom. For those of you that are here, my name is Cecilia Del Toro. I am the college counselor at De La Salle. And of course, I'll be welcoming you and getting this event started. So just some reminders, this event will be recorded, so you will get access to this recording. This is a webinar, so you are muted, but you are welcome to ask questions in that Q&A feature. The representatives today will give you really good answers, so your question might be answered in their responses, but if there are any additional questions, you can ask them there. We'll try to get to all of them the best we can. Again, you are muted, but you are welcome to answer questions on that Q&A. I will be posting a handout in the chat. So that handout has information that we have compiled. So feel free to have access to that. And then we will also send that to you after the webinar event. So now we'll just go ahead and get started to be respectful of your time. And of course, with everything, we always begin things with prayer. So let us pray. Let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God. God, we ask you to bless our student athletes. Bless their bodies, minds, and hearts. They work hard and use their God-given gifts and talents to the best of their ability. Bless them all and all their teammates and coaches. Bless their workouts and games. Continue to give them strength, endurance, courage, and agility. Keep them safe and healthy. Bless their educational endeavors, that they manage their time and prioritize their academic pursuits. We lift us their goals and dreams to you as they pursue to continue in higher education and collegiate sports. St. John Baptist de La Salle, pray for us. Live Jesus in our hearts forever. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Del Toro. I'm Mr. Schroeder. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director here at De La Salle and also the head basketball coach. I'm going to introduce all of our panelists. Before we do that, though, I just want to say a thank you from all of us here at De La Salle and Cronolette for joining our panel tonight and providing insight into the college experience. We know you're extremely busy, and to take an hour out of your Monday night, we really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to start with introducing each panelist. Our first panelist is from University of San Diego. Her name is Jessica Goerke. She joined the University of San Diego Athletic Department in August of 2024, where she serves as the Deputy Director of Athletics and Chief Operating Officer. In this role, she oversees key student-facing units, including compliance, sports medicine, sports performance, and academics. Additionally, Goerke serves as the sport administrator for both the women's volleyball and baseball programs. With over 14 years of experience in Division I athletics, Goerke has worked at various institutions, including the University of Illinois and most recently, UC Santa Barbara. She also brings valuable experience in NCAA governance, having served on the NCAA Soccer Selection Committee and the NCAA Committee on Academics. Welcome, Ms. Goerke. Our Division II representative is the interim athletic director at San Francisco State, Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis has been the Senior Associate Director of Athletics since February 2019 and was recently named the Interim Athletic Director in August of 2024. He helps oversee the department's day-to-day administrative duties, long-term strategic planning, and staff and sports supervision. He oversees the department's communications efforts and is currently the primary sport contact for men's and women's soccer, men's basketball, wrestling, and softball. He has focused the program's brand, streamlined and enhanced San Francisco State's social media offerings, and has helped oversee several facility improvements. Davis serves on SF State's Clary Committee and was appointed the university's Clary Director from October 2020 to February 2021. and also serves on the university's Emergency Operations Center Planning Section. Davis joined San Francisco State in January 2017 as an Associate Director of Athletics for Communications and Fan Development and served as Interim Director of Athletics in March and April of 2018. Welcome to Mr. Davis. Our Division III representative is from Chapman, Mr. Doug Aiken. He is the Associate Athletic Director for Compliance. After 16 years as Chapman Sports Information Director, Mr. Aiken moved into a new position as Associate Director of Compliance in 2015, where he handles all matters relating to NCAA rules and legislation, compliance, and eligibility, and oversees the university's physical activity curriculum. In 2022, he also took on administrative oversight of the swimming and diving, track and field, women's lacrosse, and women's soccer teams. Mr. Aiken previously served as a university sports information director beginning in 1999 when he assumed the role at the tender age of 21. He oversaw athletics, communications, and media relations for Chapman's 20 intercollegiate varsity programs. Beyond his work in athletics, Mr. Aiken has also taught several classes at Chapman, including sports public relations, an upper division elective as part of the Dodge College of Media Arts. He has served as a member of the Chapman Athletics Hall of Fame Committee. He also has served as an assistant and associate head coach of the Chapman softball program for 9 seasons. Faces of Chapman. Welcome, Mr. Aiken. Thank you for being here. Our NAIA representative from UC Merced is Mr. Payton Williams. He is the Associate Athletic Director. He was appointed the Associate Athletic Director in July of 2023. His primary duties with UC Merced are compliance, sports supervision, and overall administration. Williams came to UC Merced with 14 years of experience in college athletics, both at the institutional and national levels. He served as the athletic director at Riverside City College for 2.5 years and the director of compliance and academic support at Azusa Pacific University from 2017 to 2021. Prior to serving at the institutional level, Williams was the assistant director of academic and membership affairs for the NCAA from 2009 to 2017. Welcome, Mr. Williams. Thank you for being here. Our junior college representative is Mr. Marty Storti from Medanos College. Mr. Storti was recently named the athletic director at Medanos College in October of 2023. He came to Medanos after a long tenure with St. Mary's College. Over the course of his tenure at St. Mary's College, Storti managed numerous areas within the athletic department, including human resources, strategic planning, and program assessment. In his role, Storti oversaw athletic camps, campus recreation, event management, facility sports medicine, and strength and conditioning. He also served as a sports supervisor for several teams, which included baseball, cross country, track, men's golf, women's rowing, men's soccer, and softball. Under his leadership, several of St. Mary's teams achieved national success. Storti was the men's soccer sport administrator when they participated in the 2011 NCAA tournament when they reached the Elite Eight. He served as a lead administrator for men's rugby, contributing to their historic achievements by securing USA Rugby D1A national championships in 2014, 15, 16, and 2017. Storti earned his master's degree and bachelor's degree in business administration from St. Mary's College. Welcome, Mr. Storti, and thank you for being with us tonight. I will now pass it back to Ms. Del Toro, and she can start us off.
Okay, so again, thanks everyone for being here. We're excited to hear more about each of your colleges and of course your wealth of knowledge. So to start us off, the first question, really broad question. What is the student athlete experience at your division level? And we're going to start with Ms. Goerke.
Sure. First of all, thank you all for inviting me on to serve on this panel. Although I can't see our guests in attendance, I see that our participant number is up well past 100. So it really warms my heart. And obviously having this opportunity to speak to you all about something I'm really passionate about, which is serving the student athlete experience. So thank you for teeing me off with a question about student athlete experience. I really appreciate that. I think largely what you can come to expect from the Division I experience is a lot of time management that's going to need to be built into your day. The NCAA does limit the number of countable athletic related activities that you could participate in when you're in season. That's 20 hours. But to be really honest, for those who are competing at certainly the Division I level, I think the number of hours that they're spending towards their sport, even in a volunteer capacity, is well over those 20 hours a week. When you factor in travel time, additional film you might be watching, other time you might be spending towards crafting your skills. At the Division I level to be competitive. And that takes a lot of balance then too with your academic commitments, and certainly also wanting to factor in any kind of social commitments that you also have. So time management is really key for our students. We certainly provide them with resources to help with their time management. We have a full team full of academic advisors and counselors designed to help our students transition into college and work through some of those time demands, so that when you're, in addition to focusing on academics and athletic commitments, you also need to be fueling your body with proper nutrition, making sure that you're putting the right food in your body. And really, sleep is a huge recovery factor as well. A topic that has been burgeoning for a while, and certainly here at the University of San Diego, we're also accounting for is the rise of mental health concerns, and wanting to make sure that our student athletes are supported on all fronts, including their mental health, in addition to their other health needs related to their athletic and academic success. But, if you're coming to a Division I institution, you can expect to spend a lot of time working on your sport, working in the classroom, and then, having just a really fantastic, well-rounded experience.
Awesome. I think Jessica pretty much covered it for us. Division II is going to be really a lot of the same thing. The big thing is going to be that we are mostly traveling up and down the state in our conference. We're the CCAA, and those teams are a lot of UC Merced will actually be joining, and we'll be joining that with the CCA. But most of our schools are going to be the Cal State universities, and we also play some of the other Division II programs in the Pac West, and those have some Hawaii schools, some California schools, and we play some teams in the Great North Athletic Conference, so some teams up in Washington, Oregon area. And most of our stuff is going to be regionalized. So that'll be the big difference that you see between Division I and II, aside from resources. Obviously, Division I has their TV contracts. Division II has a different model where a lot more of our funding comes from the Division I basketball tournament, and that goes towards Division II championships. But on campus, it's going to be a lot of the same thing. The mental health, the going to class, and we're really focused on getting degrees, and then the community service aspect of things. So a lot of the same things that you're going to see, but a little smaller scale at Division II.
All right, I'm up. Appreciate you guys having Chapman represented on this call, so thank you so much. Yeah, Division III, a lot of the focus is on what Division III is not, right? We don't offer athletic scholarships, and that is true, but a lot of the focus is kind of misinterpreted as that means that it's not very competitive, that it's not much of a time commitment, that it's a lot of those knots, right? Non-binding, which is also true. But those are false as far as like the competitiveness of it. In fact, a lot of what Division III is, the focus on that is really it offers balance, and that student piece of that student athlete is really paramount, but also our student athletes are highly competitive. Our teams compete for conference and national championships. Our baseball team won a national championship in 2019. We won multiple conference championships, and our athletes compete to go to NCAA playoffs annually. And but at the same time, that balance and that focus, and there are Division III rules in place in terms of playing season that limits what a student athlete and what a team can do in the non-traditional season, most importantly, which frees our student athletes up to be able to take advantage of opportunities academically, socially, internships, study abroad, those types of things that we still get, athletes that have been recruited at Division I, Division II level, but they opt for Division III because of, again, that balance that they're seeking and that academic, priority that they perceive. So I know that our Division II and Division I and NAIA and junior college counterparts on this call also focus and emphasize academics, but Division III, again, without having the athletic scholarship to go along with it. And we'll probably get into a little bit more of people probably looking at the price of attending a private college like Chapman and going, well, if there's no athletic scholarship, then how can people afford to go there? We can talk about that later. But the other piece about Division III that's kind of unique is really the philosophy of Division III is that our student athletes are integrated into the broader campus. And so where I know at Division I, Division II, they offer maybe a few more resources for their student athletes and their student athletes only. At Chapman, the focus is really to allow our student athletes to just be part of the general student body in terms of those resources. So we don't offer specific housing for our athletes, specific dining, or other tutoring and other resources just for our athletes. Our athletes really take advantage of the same great resources that all of our students can take advantage of. So that's a little bit about Division III, a little bit about Chapman, but I'll save some of the rest of it for later.
Great, thanks. I know Marcus's description had a lot of St. Mary's experience, so I've been around the game for a long time, so I have a unique perspective on this. Also, very proud parent of two graduates from De La Salle and one from Carondelet, so everything's good there. If you're fortunate enough and dedicated enough to play athletics in the next level, you have all these options. They're all in front of you. And I think what's similar really is it's your love and passion for the sport and what your experience is with the sport. At LMC, they care. They get just as upset when things don't go well. They get equally as excited when things do go well. So when they win championship, the baseball team tumbled on each other after the game, and when people lose, there's some really depressed looking people. So the experience at LMC or the community college level is pretty similar from that perspective. You're playing in a sport, you care about it, you have passion for it. The other things, you got to watch film, you got to lift weights, you got to do all the extra things. You do that everywhere, no matter where you go. Some of the support services we offer, I think we have one of the best trainers around. He does a great job with helping people prepare and to rehab when things something gets hurt. I think what's important is what we're able to do at the community college level, specifically at LMC, is we create a pretty small bonding culture with our student athletes. They support each other. They go to each other's games. We've developed a student athlete academy, which plots your academic plan for a couple of years. And that means we have courses available for those student athletes. And it creates a greater bond. The support is there and everything else. So the student athlete experience is what you make of it, right? How hard you work in the weight room or, on the track or wherever it is, and how supported you are in your efforts, your equal efforts in academics. And at the community college level, we have all of those opportunities and support services available to help you. But again, college is a different time for everybody. You have to make your own decisions. You have to do your own thing, and it's it's overwhelming for some people, and the mental health that was discussed earlier, that's an important part of it. And I've seen that over 40 years. It hasn't changed. So we're prepared for all of that stuff, and I think we're a unique experience for those looking to continue their education.
From the NAIA perspective, I know Brandon correctly indicated this is UC Merced's final year in the NAIA, but we'll be moving to Division II and joining the CCAA and the Cal States that Brandon mentioned. But an NAIA perspective is a little different. They have less rules related to practice time. The only one they truly have is that one day each week you have to take a day off. The rest of it, make sure you talk to your coaches, and more importantly, talk with the current student athletes about what that experience looks like, because it varies from campus to campus. There are some campuses that are putting in, the general couple hours of work. There's other campuses that are putting in 3, 4, and 5 with the work that they do with a morning session and an afternoon session. It's really something to find out from the teams, from those players, taking a visit and seeing what a day-to-day life is like. And similar with the class and student athlete experience and balance, that varies by campus. Some NAIA campuses in California work more as online institutions, or very limited with their campus space. It may be a few buildings, maybe a small campus, and that sort of setup depending on the school you're looking at. Others might be a larger campus depending on where you are, but really getting out and seeing what that campus looks like, talking to those students will let you know what that student balance is looking like, what those courses look like during a season, and how they take care of their student athletes. On our campus, we're rated, if you enjoy the Wall Street Journal, we're rated #1 in the country in social mobility, #5 in public institutions nationally. So there's a heavy focus on the student athlete experience, and the most important day for our students, like all the others, being their graduation day. Of course, we like to win championships, but we're really pursuing programming for our students to make sure that not only are they successful on the field or the court or the pool, but for their career and their future as well. Thank you, parents, for taking part in this. Outside of doing this work, I'm the father to someone that's currently a Division I student athlete in softball. So I remember being in these sessions just a couple of years before. So it's great for you to be hearing from direct sources at campuses versus maybe those recruiting services or those trainers or those people that aren't in the day-to-day mix. They're supporting you and that career goal for your child, but the people that are day-to-day going to care for your student athletes or know about the true experience of being a student athlete, you're in the right place.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that question, if we could go in the same order and just answer, like, just balancing athletics and academics at your level. Obviously, a few of you have touched on that. Are there like any limitations to maybe the major that you pursue, at your school, or studied abroad, those types of things? I mean, if you're able to play athletics at your school, are you able to have every opportunity to do everything you want to do academically? It sounds like maybe at Chapman you could do that, but just speak to that if you don't mind, and we can start again with Miss Goerke.
Sure. In terms of majors, I wouldn't say I have been at an institution quite yet that has been limited by majors. I don't know if that's just been luck of the draw that I've been at a handful of Division I institutions and we haven't had to limit our students to majors, but I really think actually it's somewhat of that commitment to the full student athlete experience, is that your academics is important as well. The only time I would think that there might be limits to majors, frankly, has probably more to do with if there's a particular major at a particular institution, that their practice times, that the classes, the times that the classes are offered are always going to conflict with practice. I mean, obviously it's going to be really difficult for you to be in two places at once, right? So those are typically the times that I've heard where a student might not be able to pursue the major that they would have particularly have wanted to. But often, as someone who came up through athletic advising, what we will focus on then is, okay, well, what are your long-term career goals? And maybe that can't be attained by this particular major, but is there another major that we can keep you on your track to meeting your career goals long-term, just in a roundabout way? But otherwise, at all of the institutions that I've been at, I've had wide-ranging from pre-med students to engineering students to nursing students at pretty much every institution I've been at. In terms of study abroad, again, that is going to just be a little bit more of a time management piece, being really, really intentional with your planning. If you're a fall sport, maybe that means saving a study abroad experience for your senior year spring. There are also some programs that will take advantage of foreign tours. And so that can help supplement what would be a study abroad experience, but you would do it with your team. And so that just largely depends as you're getting recruited on the coaching staff and if they have any plans for a foreign tour that could be coming up. But otherwise, it just takes a lot of intentional planning and coordination with both your coaches and with your athletic advisor.
Yeah, for San Francisco State, we have an academic advisor in our department, and we have academic advisors on campus. So the pair of those can really work to mold what our student athletes are trying to do. Our academic advisor obviously is going to have that view of what happens in athletics, and they're going to know what practice times look like. They're going to know when different things are happening. They're going to give our student athletes a letter to give to their different professors to say, hey, this is when our schedule is, and this is when we'll be traveling. We're going to be missing these classes. There are policies in place to protect student athletes at universities from missed class time. There are also instances where there are majors that need to be more in person than some. A lot of those are going to be your science, your nursing, stuff that takes labs where there's really hands-on experience. So that's something to really think about when you're looking at your different majors and whether you're going to be able to manage your time both in the classroom and with your athletics. In terms of the study abroad, San Francisco State has a whole department who's able to handle that, and they're able to mentor folks on that. And like Jessica said, it's about planning. And if you are a fall sport, you're going to want to look at something in the spring. It might mean missing spring season, and that's a conversation you need to have with your coach, whether you're a starter who has earned a spot, or if you're maybe a freshman or a sophomore who's really trying to earn some playing time, and their spring season is going to be more valuable. So it's really going to be kind of where you are on your team, what you want to do with your whole college experience, and trying to manage all of that. Doug?
Yeah. At Chapman, really no majors are off limits. I mean, even some of our more time heavy sciences, things like that. We've had some student athletes that have been able to just rock all of those majors and also be All-Americans in their sport. The one that is probably a little bit of a problem for us, because our film school is top 5 in the world here at Chapman, is film production, and that's primarily because the requirements to be on film sets all weekend long, which is when we're playing games, that can be a problem and could be a conflict. So we don't have too many. There's other majors in our film school where we do have student athletes, and they've been successful, just particularly that film production. And I think the animation and visual graphics is also a little bit has some conflicts, but for the most part, academically, those schedules work well, and we work with academic advising, and they block schedule our athletes around, or at least the incoming freshmen, around practice times. Our student athletes get priority registration so that they can try to schedule their classes around those practices and games. So we make it, as accommodating as possible. And then socially, I already mentioned study abroad. I think that really, we offer, vast variety of clubs and organizations that a lot of our student athletes are involved in. There's one thing that socially that it depends on the sport, depends on the coach, and that's Greek life. Chapman has a fairly robust Greek system, and we have some sports where the coaches permit it, and it works out fine, and there aren't those conflicts. We have other coaches where it's been a problem, really just kind of a time management problem and a commitment level issue. And so what we always tell any prospective student athletes at Chapman is if the Greek life is something you're interested in your collegiate experience, just to make sure that that comes up in the recruiting process so that you find out exactly where our coach stands on that, whether they allow it or don't allow it. But for the most part, like I said, Division III is really about providing that breadth of experience in your student experience at Chapman, and so most of it is pretty permissible.
At UC Merced and most NAIA institutions, everything's accessible. A lot of campuses, the student athletes make up a decent majority of the students overall for the campus. So anything they decide to do ends up benefiting the institution. Out of season is when you're looking at study abroad options or summertime for study abroad, whether it's NAIA or even at UC Merced as well. You can get into any major you want at UC Merced. If you're admitted to that program, you have the opportunity to achieve it. We adjust our schedules to make sure you can fulfill your academic dreams while you're competing for your program. So those are the ways that we operate thus far with our department and program. When you're looking at other NAIA schools, anything you are looking to achieve, it's very specific to that campus. In Arizona, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University has a ton of programs that are in place around aviation, piloting, air traffic controller, security and technical stuff that are all related to flight. You can take part in all those majors while you're trying to compete in the sports over there. Obviously not trying to send you to Embry-Riddle, want you to come to UC Merced, but that's what NAIA schools do. It's what we do. It's what you'll see in Division II with a lot of the life and the balance programming that's in place, as you want to make that experience in college yours while you compete for championships. We're making sure you're getting a diploma and you're prepared for your career with a great experience during your 4 years.
Thank you. I think last round I went out of turn. I apologize for that. Got to remember the hierarchy here. The reality with community colleges is pretty simple. Our priorities are degree completion and transferring, and we do everything we can for that. We understand who we are. We make no bones about it. We take a back step to nobody, but our goal is degree, certification, or completion, and to transfer. So we do everything we can. We've got the Student Athlete Academy that I spoke about earlier. And it's a great way to track that, to make sure it happens, that people get the degrees and do the things that they want to do. When it comes to declaring a major, the community colleges is an outstanding opportunity to get your general education done. The percentage of new college students that change their major is pretty dramatic, and I've seen that over the years, time and time again. They're not sure, they want to explore different things, or some are cut out and they know exactly what it is. At LMC, you have that opportunity to learn through general education, take care of all those credits, and make sure whichever opportunity you want, your next opportunity at a four-year institution, you're prepared for that and you're ready to go. LMC and community college in general is a great place to, to sharpen your academic approach. And we've talked about time management a couple of times. You have to learn that it's very different in college than it is in high school, that it was different, in your previous stops. So, the learning study schools, it's a different ability you're going to need to have in college. Community colleges give you the opportunity, to explore that and to experiment a little bit. What's your learning style? Do you want to be online? Do you want to do hybrid? Do you want to be face-to-face? We have all of those opportunities at the community college level, just so you get the opportunity, you get the experience, and then you move on to where you want to be. So we have a lot of support services. We have a dedicated academic counselor. We have a dedicated academic eligibility specialist. All of our coaches go through it. We have study halls that are available. We have tutoring that's available. So any support people need, we have that. We're ready to go with that. And it helps a lot of students find their way in their academic path. So we're proud of the fact that we're there for those students that need that want that, and deserve it. So.
Thank you. That was great. That was really, I always learn a lot on these Zooms myself. So I appreciate you guys' answers on those topics. I guess shifting a little bit to the recruiting process, as we're getting kind of the back half of our webinar here. Yeah, just another broad question. You guys can take it however you want. What is the recruiting process like for your student athletes at your division level? What types of scholarships are available? For Division III, obviously, what type of academic grant money that you can get. And again, I know it varies from sport to sport as well, but who would initiate contact? Is it the coaches or the student athlete? I know the answer is probably going to be a little bit of both, but yeah, just speak to those types of questions there, and we will start. We'll go to you to start. We'll go back the other way, even though you went out of turn. We'll go back to.
Oh, thank you. At the community college level, there are no scholarships, so but you don't need them because for the vast majority of people, the education is free. So you don't have to worry about that when you go to a community college. When it comes to recruiting, our coaches are very active. They go to several high school games. They are able to we're governed by the 3C2A, which is the California Community Colleges Athletic Association. So they have all the constitution and bylaws, and we go through reviews every now and again. I did it with the NC2A, and that was a very difficult one when they did it every 10 years. So we go through those processes, and all of our coaches pass the compliance exam. So they go out, they recruit, they talk to students, they hear from their friends, will go to games and do everything that coaches normally do. When we bring kids on campus, we definitely want them to get a clear understanding of what the experience is going to be like. So we want to show them the weight room, the train room, the equipment room, their field or court, wherever it may be, where they're going to spend the time when they choose to come to LMC. So it's a both way thing. And what's interesting is, there's several student athletes that I've heard of over the years from the coaches that have been doing it that are waiting for that D1 full ride. And, a lot of them sometimes will get it, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And so you have a lot of scrambling towards the end. And that's when the junior college is a great step. And we offer that through with our and anybody else, but that step that you need to get back up to that D1 level if that's an area that you want to go to. So our recruiting is widespread, pretty thorough, comparable to many, and it really just comes down to coaches communicating about their program and the benefits of it. So we spend a lot of time with that.
From an NAIA perspective, the recruitment process varies, but many are in contact. What they experience is a lot to Marty's point that many are waiting for Division I offers, and in this sort of time frame, this is where you're headed. There's less than 3 weeks until Division I signing day for the senior class, and if you ask around to various schools, whether it's University of San Diego or others, they know who they're going to sign. They know who they're trying to get by now. They're not out looking. In a lot of the sports, they're not allowed to go out and recruit right now and see people. And so they're focused on their own teams. They know who they're interested in offering. They've sent out packages or they're talking that through. So at the NAIA level, they're out trying to find anyone at any time. So if you want to stand out to those schools, surprise some of those coaches and reach out to those programs and look at where they are on their website, compare their rosters to you and your skill set, the awards you've earned in high school and the awards they've earned in high school, and kind of size them up, get to those campuses if they're nearby, and really see what the experience is like. For UC Merced, our coaches are out actively at showcases, primarily up and down the state, the Bay Area a great deal. If you look at many of our teams, they're getting Northern California players, they're getting East Bay players, they're getting Central California players. People where if they haven't looked at a full map yet of California, and then they finally do and they realize, the drive isn't that bad from the Bay or Central California, Sacramento. Those are individuals that are interested in our programs and who our coaches are reaching out to. That's that part of the process. And then they're navigating where that goes from there. I'll pause so I can get some water and let others speak about their experiences. Thank you.
So at Chapman, we don't have large recruiting budgets, and so we do rely on students to contact us first if they're interested. To be honest, so if Division III is something that's appealing, if Chapman specifically is something that's appealing, we encourage prospective student athletes to contact our coaches directly and let them know. That being said, our coaches are looking for the same type of athletes that everyone is looking for here. Going back to my first comment about some of the misnomers about Division III, is this is not like some kind of glorified intramural program. Like, our coaches do recruit, they're recruiting high caliber student athletes that have been all league, all state, compete at high level club and travel teams, that type of resume. But do reach out to our coaches and let them know that you're interested. Because we're not all over the country, trying to, eagle eye, at showcases and other recruiting events. Fortunately, being in Southern California, we're in a great place where a lot of those recruiting events do come through our neck of the woods. And so we also encourage those athletes that not only reach out, but also, include a video if you have one, a resume if you have one, but also your schedule. And so if you're going to be passing through Southern California with your team or individually, and you let our coaches know, and there's an opportunity for our coaches to come out and see you compete, they will absolutely do that. And hopefully then at that point, maybe get you on to our campus to be able to check out, what our school has to offer in person. It's a challenge, and we don't offer athletic scholarships. I think that probably now is my opportunity to say that Chapman does offer considerable amount of academic aid, as well as other forms of financial aid. Over 80% of our students at Chapman are on some sort of financial aid, or receiving some sort of financial aid. And a lot of them get that through just the admissions process. When you get accepted, if you get accepted, you are offered an academic scholarship right away. And those range from 14,000 to 40,000. And so, you know, if you're on the high end of that takes a huge chunk out of that overall cost of attendance at Chapman, and puts us more in the Cal State UC range of affordability. So that, you know, if you're thinking, gosh, I don't know, without the athletic scholarship, how we would be able to afford it. Well, you know, our coaches are recruiting also, besides great athletes, really strong academic, you know, students as well, so that you're going to qualify, hopefully, for some of that academic money in the process. Our recruiting calendar kind of starts in between your sophomore and junior year. So our coaches cannot contact you as student athletes before that summer between your sophomore and junior year. So if you're ahead of the game and reaching out to our coaches, or reaching out to other schools as freshmen and sophomores in high school, great. Our coaches may just kind of file that away, but they can't be in touch with you until that summer between sophomore and junior year. And then it's really a 2-year process at that point. It's it may be getting you down here for a visit, check out the campus, go to class with some students, you know, see a game, see a practice, find out what it's like to be a student here at Chapman, and then getting you to apply by that fall, before that fall of your senior year. So that's really a brief kind of synopsis of our recruiting process, but really encourage you to reach out to our coaches just to make sure that you're seen and your interest is noted.
Mr. Davis, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Classic. The big thing about student aid is don't focus just on your athletic student aid. You know, there are very few dollars. The dollars are thinning out. I don't want to scare folks, but you may have heard of the transfer portal in the NCAA. That's really changed the landscape of things. Recruiting has become a lot later in several sports, sports like baseball, I would say. Jessica can probably speak to that as well. But what the transfer portal has done has folks hop from school to school and looking for different opportunities. So a lot of schools, opportunities end up coming from the transfer portal, which makes it harder when you're a high school senior going to look for a school and making that 4-year commitment. So really identifying what you're looking for in a school is important, because I do think that a lot of times folks end up going somewhere and then they end up transferring, which for some folks works out really well, and some folks, they end up somewhere and don't play. So I think really talking to your coaches, but also knowing that it's the school you're going to. Coaches tend to come and go. So the institution will be there. So really knowing what the major you want to be in, knowing that the sport you want to play, and being able to really marry those two together is really important to making the college experience. For us, the timeline for contact really varies from sport to sport, athlete to athlete. For our school, the coaches do travel, and they're looking for folks, but at the same time, we're looking for emails from student athletes who are interested in us. I answered one of the questions in the chat, and someone asked if social media helps, and it can, but it really varies again on the coaching staff and on the sport. A lot of teams have social media accounts, but it might not be the coach running it. Oftentimes it's not the coach running it. It's going to be a student worker. It might be a staff member on the communication side. I personally have run some of those social media accounts, and softball is one of those sports, for example, where I'm sorry, I keep getting messages, but softball is one of those sports where we get a ton of video coming in from students, and we simply don't have the bandwidth to go through every social post that we're tagged on. So really getting in front of the coach's eyes, the ideal there is to email them directly, because the coaches are going to be responding to those emails. So I would say reach out directly to the coaching staff. If you want to go onto a website, for us, it's sfstategators.com. Most, if not all, athletics sites are going to have a staff directory. You're going to be able to find the coaching information there for the head coach, for the assistant coaches. Make sure you're emailing the correct people. A lot of times, coaches will get an email and it'll say, "Dear Coach so and so," but it's not the right school and it's not the right coach, because someone has sent an email to 300 coaches. So really, if you want to make that first impression count, that's where to do it. And that could really change your future with one email. So I think paying attention to those small details can be really important. And then, in terms of timeline, it's really about applying. Federal aid is important these days because there have been issues with what's called the FAFSA. So if folks are looking at federal aid, that could be a barrier, but hopefully that's getting sorted out by the government. And if there's anything I missed, hopefully one of the other panelists can cover that.
I'll take us home on this question, and I want to certainly be mindful of our time. But from a Division I perspective, about a little bit over half of our student athletes do receive some type of athletic aid. So, which is about, I believe, average for most Division I institutions, somewhere between 50 and 60% of their student athletes might receive some form of athletic aid. There's a lot of change happening at the Division I landscape in regards to the way student athletes are going to be scholarshiped. And it could have changed in the last 45 minutes that we spoke. I could hop off this and find out that the NCAA has made some changes in this time that we've spoken, largely surrounding a court case called House v. NCAA. So if you wanted to Google that and really dive into some of the things that are changing about the way that Division I institutions may be able to scholarship their student athletes, it's House, House, v. NCAA. And so what I believe we're all somewhat anticipating is that the NCAA will actually go away from having scholarship limitations and moved more towards, hey, roster limits. So baseball, you could have up to 34 members on your roster, and you could, if your institution had the ability to, could scholarship all 34 or a portion of 34. So when I say that this is changing every single day, it really is. And we're just trying to certainly situate ourselves to best lead through that changing landscape and make sure that we continue to lean in on the things that we really think make the biggest impact in a student athlete experience, which is a really fantastic athletic and academic experience here at USD. In terms of a recruiting timeline, certainly some sports could recruit as early as 9th grade, but I think it was brought up here earlier by another panelist. More often than not, when we're recruiting student athletes, I'm seeing them take official visits and really seriously be pursued in their 11th year. So, start to really think about which schools you want to take official visits to, which ones you want to dial in on around that time. That can also be a really good opportunity to start doing some independent research for yourself on what some of the academic requirements are for those institutions. I know it was brought up in the Q&A, if there's anything limiting, depending on the division, someone from studying film. And in general, no, but those would be really, really great questions to pose to your coaching staffs that are recruiting you, like, hey, how do I balance my academic pursuits with my athletic experience at your institution, so that you can make sure that you're landing on a school that allows you to do both.
Thank you for those responses. Obviously we're getting up to close to 7:30 here. I want to just ask a little bit of a follow-up, and a lot of you have already touched on this, but and also just give you a chance to maybe say one more thing if there's something that you missed. But again, you guys, some of you have already touched on this, but just how can student athletes prepare for the recruiting process? I know Mr. Davis, you talked about, email and being detailed there. When do you see a lot of your student athletes come visit campus unofficially or officially? And I know Miss Goerke, you just talked about that, but if there's anything else that you want to say about that, and then anything else that you would like to say, just in general, and not to rush any of you, but maybe a minute and a half for each of you. And I will start. Miss Goerke, you can start us off, kind of as your closing remarks here.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who may be further along in your academic progress, maybe you're getting into your 12th grade, I certainly don't want to make it sound like there is not opportunities for you. I think taking advantage of the opportunities getting yourself in front of the coaches, right? So making yourself, whether that's maybe a recruiting website, certainly I've worked at institutions where our coaches will subscribe to Max Preps accounts, those types of things. Going to ID camps, clinics, showcases, going to those events that will get you in front of the coaches so that they can see that the athletic talent that you bring with you. And then, so when you do get approached from an athletic standpoint, also making sure your academics are in order as well, not just because there are initial eligibility requirements that the NCAA has, but certainly you don't want to limit yourself to the type of institution you can get admitted to, because in addition to the NCAA requirements, there are still some really competitive schools that have a competitive admissions process, and you wouldn't want to eliminate yourself due to academics.
Yeah, I think the majority of folks want to recognize that they're not going to go pro. So really focusing on the college experience, identifying what you are interested in. Are you interested in a small school like Chapman that has, a strong film school? Are you interested in the San Francisco State that's got, a strong communication arts, liberal arts, and a strong background with social justice? Are you interested in a bigger school like San Diego? Really, get on campuses. I think that's another thing that'll really help you, is going on campus tours and going to see schools. If you're traveling for a club or for, games, also see if there's a school nearby, and you don't have to make a visit to the coaches, but you can walk around these campuses because campuses are open, right? So just kind of getting on campuses to see what you're interested in is really a good way. And obviously, with the internet, you can see on the websites and you can explore that way before you even touch foot on campus. But I think a big part of it is identifying what you want before you even think about athletics. Because if you're going to a school just for athletics, I think that's the wrong approach. I think you really want to be invested in your whole academic and athletic experience.
Not a whole lot to add to everything that's been said tonight. I think this has all been really really good advice for those of you who are interested in playing at the next level. Yeah, I from the email, Brandon, that was a great call. That's one of the things that I hear our coaches complain about the most is, they get so many emails that it's so easy. You might be just a stud, and but it's so easy to just delete if it's sent to the wrong coach, or it's riddled with typos. And I mean, so that don't take that part too lightly. Also, I mean, Chapman does offer this, showcases, clinics, ID camps, those types of things as well. So again, just reach out to the coach and let them know that you're interested, and follow on social media to get a kind of a vibe of what the program is like, so that you can get informed when we do offer those types of things. And then just, if you can, I know you can't probably be everywhere, but if you can see the campus, because I really think that, setting foot on a college campus really gives you the best perspective of what it's going to be like to be a student there, and talk to the members of the team and find out, what the culture is like, all of that stuff.
I would add, just try out opportunities where you can, and really gauge where you are as an athlete, and then look at what you want to finish as a student, kind of begin with the end in mind. When you finish, you want a diploma in what to prepare for what with your life, and then what schools offer that. And so you're not just sending out blanket things to schools that don't have your major, or you don't have a path towards it that you can talk about. Because yes, it's great to play college sports, but as I was telling a recruit that we had on our campus from Sierra Canyon, I'm like, the 4 years of being a student athlete is great, but one of the most disappointing times that I've seen with young people, from being a professional athlete myself who had a career-ending injury, and I knew I had something to fall back on. When it ends, you have to have something else to go to, because there's nothing worse than finishing 4 years of your sport, doing everything you've got, and it's the last time you put on a uniform and you don't know what's next. So with whatever you're trying to plan out here, parents, student athletes, and you're projecting, have that part in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Where do you want it? What degree do you want? Where do you want your career to head? What schools can do that for you? And if it's a wide array, then it's, where do you want to go to school? Don't send out stuff to people to schools in Maine and North Dakota if you hate the cold. And if you hate humidity, don't send stuff to the South and to Texas, because you'll melt. And find those places that work. If you really want your parents to see you play, then talk with them about what that radius looks like for travel. Pick those schools, look for a tryout, look for an ID camp, look for an opportunity, get the film there. And then most importantly, tell your coach. If you got club coaches, tell your club coaches. Your high school coaches are going to get calls. These are two sensational high schools at De La Salle and Carondelet. So let them know where you're headed. And then for yourself, look in the mirror. Are you playing a lot? What do you match up with? Where does that fit? Find those schools that fit, where you played those similar players and they go there, similar height and build, similar speed, similar stuff. That's your window. That's what you use for comparables. That's what you use to stand out. And be realistic with that. You'll find a place and an opportunity for you to continue to play, because we're showing you all the different ranges of schools. You can keep playing if you want to. You want to find the place that gets you towards that final goal you have of your degree and where your career is going to be.
I'll be very brief since I know we're past time. Sorry about that. Everything the panelist says, very true. But when you're unsure and you're not positive, LMC may be the route for you. It gives you the opportunity to learn, to grow more, and to better refine what it is you want to do and what other institution you want to go to. Because the unique thing about us is there's no transfer portal for us. All of these institutions and many more will recruit you when you're at LMC as well. So you have that opportunity at LMC to grow for a couple of years, prepare yourself, solidify what you're thinking, what you want to do. And we have great teams as well. Thanks, Marcus.
Well, thank you to our panelists. I mean, an hour goes by so quick, obviously, and we're at an hour and 5, so we apologize for going over, but we appreciate you guys once again for taking time out of your busy schedules to talk to our student athletes and our parents. And like I said, I always learn something. I think just those closing remarks from Mr. Williams, I mean that hit home with me, because I was in that space after graduation, and what was I going to do next? I think you got to be thinking in those terms. So, but all of our panelists, you guys provided incredible insight, and we really appreciate it. So, thank you. This has been recorded, and this will be uploaded to our website under links and resources on our athletic page, College Bound Student Athletes. We will send out a follow-up email and some correspondence to make sure you guys have the recording if you want to reference it back. And if you have any questions that come up, you can always email myself or Miss Del Toro or Miss Lopez or anybody in our athletic department. And then I would just always urge you guys to lean on your coaches, because every sport's a little bit different, and your coaches are really kind of the experts in their sport, obviously. So, but again, appreciate all of our panelists, appreciate you joining us, and thanks again, and everyone have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.